Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's spotlight session on space engineering. This is the start of our second week in our series of virtual sessions highlighting the various programs we offer here at Lausanne School of Engineering. Thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today. Ian and I are very excited to share everything you need to know about studying space engineering at Lausanne. Now, before I dive in, I will begin by introducing myself. Some of you may know my name is Anna. I'm the domestic recruitment officer here at Lausanne. That means my job is solely to help you answer any questions you have about our programs, including space engineering, and help you in the admission journey. Okay, so if you have any questions about our programs, about the application process, all of that fun stuff, please don't hesitate to put it in the Q&A. We will try to get through as many of those questions as possible in today's session. We've reserved some time for the second half of today's session for that, okay? Now, I am joined by our knowledgeable, enthusiastic space engineering student ambassador, Ian. He's here to share the ins and outs of the program with you today, okay? So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Ian and we can get started.
Thank you, Anna. So I'll start it off by introducing myself. My name is Ian, as Anna mentioned. I am the Space Engineering Student Ambassador. I just finished my final year of the program. I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I've been involved with a lot of things at university. Uh, sorry about that. Um, Including the Lausanne Engineering Society, the Essence CubeSat, and others. I have 2+ years of research experience, and I'm going into my master's. My hobbies include indoor skydiving, video games, and being outdoors. In today's spotlight, we have a few really interesting things lined up for you all. First, we'll go into what exactly is space engineering, the common first year courses, some key courses you'll see throughout the degree, skills you require, co-op and extracurricular opportunities, and the support and resources available to all Lausanne students. Then we will go on to the frequently asked questions and then live Q&A. So let's start it off by talking about space engineering. So in your first year, you will take a lot of courses that will provide a strong base for branching out into any of the engineering majors. This will give you the opportunity to explore the various disciplines before committing to a major for your second year, which you will normally declare in around February of your first year. The key first year courses are Calculus 1 and 2, just more advanced of what you've done in high school, Linear Algebra, Physics 1 and 2, again, just more advanced of what you've done in high school, Renaissance Engineering 1 and 2, which go into the design process and how to actually do engineering, and Programming 1 and 2, or, well, they have longer names, where you'll essentially play with a little Arduino board in different programming languages. Space engineering has been ranked #1 for aerospace engineering in Canada, according to Shanghai rankings. It is designed for industry with a lot of professors with a lot of industry experience. In your lower years, you'll have a pretty heavy theoretical classwork, but come your upper years, you will have an even balance of hands-on and theoretical classes. The degree itself gives you advanced systems engineering knowledge and everything needed to design any portion of a space mission. Really, space engineering is systems engineering, and that comes with a lot of multidisciplinary engineering knowledge. So a little bit of mechanical, a little bit of electrical, a lot of software, a lot of this, a lot of that, some program managements. We'll go into that a little later. Space engineering is a small program, looking at around 50 students a year. So this comes with a lot of one-on-one opportunities with professors and a very tight-knit community. Some of the Space engineering specific curriculum highlights include space mission and systems design, which is a combined course in your second and fourth year, where you learn everything you need to learn to make a space mission happen. You'll then take dynamics of space vehicles, which is a lot of orbital mechanics, how they move, how they rotate in space, and all that kind of thing. Space hardware, where at the end of the trip you go to the Algonquin Radio Observatory and basically track a satellite using a 46-meter dish antenna, which is pretty cool. And materials for space applications, which is basically just how materials interact in space. Some technical skills you'll gain include orbital mechanics, simulations, systems engineering, a whole lot of multidisciplinary knowledge, and a whole lot of project management. And it also really depends on how you tailor your degree. You can do a lot more project management or a lot less, depending on if you're interested in it or not. So, some opportunities and valuable experiences that you can get here at Lassonde are, let's start it off with co-op. We have an optional co-op program. It is highly recommended. I personally did not do it, but there's a list of space employers such as MDA, Magellan Aerospace, the Canadian Space Agency, Canadensis, Kepler, and others, which are hiring a lot of space engineering students. You can obviously also go and work into non-space employers. Banks are looking for people, all sorts of places. What I did and what I'm interested in is research. I took 2 terms of summer research. It's called the Lassonde Undergraduate Research Award, LURA, or the NSERC Undergraduate Student Research Award, USRA. I did it with the Nanosatellite Research Lab, but there's also the Astronautics and Robotics Laboratory, the Center for Research in Earth and Space Sciences, and many, many, many more. Of course, there's also student-led research projects. In the past, we at York have launched 2 satellites, Essence and Descent. You can look up what they actually did and how those went online. If you don't know what a CubeSat is, it's about a 10 by 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter little satellite. Some extracurriculars you can get at York are, well, there's a bunch of clubs, 15 which are specific to Lassonde, such as the Lassonde Engineering Society and the Lassonde Student Government. And then you have a whole lot more design teams, such as the York University Rover Society, which is essentially building little rovers. Well, not little, they're pretty big. The Arbalest Club, which is the rocketry club here at York, the astronomy club at York, and the York Atmospheric Sciences Club. You can join or not join these depending on if you are interested in what they do or not. All of them are generally free. Some student supports that you can actually get here at Lassonde are obviously academic advising, which is great for online and in-person resources for setting up your degree and making sure you are on track to completing it in the time you want to take to complete it. They give personalized academic guidances, support for academic challenges, and obviously promotion of academic integrity. York also has the Tate McKenzie Gym. It's a pretty good gym with a whole lot of group classes for getting out and about. They have comprehensive fitness facilities, diverse recreational amenities, including a pool, a full gym, gymnasiums for like basketball and things like that. There's an archery club that goes here, some martial arts clubs, and it is very, very affordable, something on the order of $25 for the entire year's worth of access to the gym. So let's go on to some frequently asked questions. Anna, would you like to
Sure. Thanks, Ian. I'm sure students who are watching from home appreciate the valuable insight and light that you shed on such a unique program such as space engineering. Like you said, we often get a lot of questions, whether they're space engineering specific or not. So we'll go through some of those common questions together today. But I'm sure we won't touch upon all of the questions that you might have. So again, I encourage you to put your questions in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll make sure that we get to them before we conclude today's session. But let's get right to it. So this first question here is very general, but because we often do get comparisons, we get asked, how does space engineering compare to this engineering program or that engineering program? So I'm wondering, Ian, as a student who's seen the whole program, you've been through it now. How, in your words, would you distinguish space engineering from other engineering programs, or which ones do you see they're compared to, space is compared to the most?
Space is very often compared to aerospace engineering, and there is a huge difference between the two, mainly in the aero portion. In space engineering, you do not deal with airplanes, really rocket ships either, or anything that has to do within the atmosphere. Everything that we deal with in space engineering happens outside the atmosphere. A good comparison between space engineering and a different type of engineering degree would be systems engineering, where you get the multidisciplinary knowledge of electrical systems, mechanical systems, software systems, and how they all interact together and make them all work together. It has a very multidisciplinary approach to making space things. Of course, in space engineering, you can focus a lot more on electrical, on mechanical, on software, on whatever you want to do from the subfields that make it up. But it really is, you learn a lot about a lot. So
Mhm.
that is the main comparison. You learn a little bit about everything and, well, a lot about everything really. Um, which gives you that ability to move around depending on where you want to go.
Mhm. I do definitely agree. Something that I hear often from our engineering students is that regardless of which, discipline you're in, obviously there are a lot of transferable skills, you know. Of course, for those who really want to specialize in a particular engineering, like you said, those who are in space engineering typically love space engineering, right? They're
Yeah.
interested in the systems, they're interested in the satellites, they're interested in all of, all that fun stuff. And so that's great, but there's so many transferable skills just being in engineering that if you
Mm-hmm.
want to, after completing your undergrad, specialize further, you can, right? Or go into a field that utilizes the soft and hard skills that you've gained through this program. That's possible as well. But I do appreciate that, there is a very clear difference, distinguishing factor between space engineering and aerospace engineering, which, like
Mm-hmm.
you said, is more focused on airplanes. For those who want to like pilot an airplane, like maybe space engineering isn't necessarily what. Um,
We actually have a surprising amount of people who can pilot airplanes in space engineering.
oh, well, look at that.
Yeah. Um, One more thing to add, aerospace engineering is really a subset of mechanical engineering.
Mm,
So you do a lot of mechanical engineering in aerospace.
mhm. So I guess again, I think most of the time that's the two
Yeah.
programs we kind of refer students to if they're like, oh, I'm really interested in aerospace. It's like you could, like you said, if you're interested in general in space, I mean, you could go into space engineering, but if you're really interested in hands-on building components, then
Mm.
maybe mechanical engineering could be better,
Yeah.
right? So there are options. Um, think hopefully that helps distinguish between these two programs. Maybe we'll move on to the next question here. So your case, you've mentioned like obviously that people in space engineering love space engineering. I believe you are one of those individuals. So what made you choose this program or what made you choose Lassonde? I don't know which one comes first for you.
The program by far. I chose Lassonde because of the program and the space engineering program just because I wanted to do an engineering degree and I was really, really into space. I remember going to the Ontario Universities Fair and hearing about this specific program at the Lassonde booth, and it was just, yeah, that's the program for me. Um, and this would have been in like grade 10 for me. So,
What did you hear that made you go, "Oh, this is for me."
well, I really liked uh, two or three specific things about what I heard that at least that I remember now. This was something like 6, 7 years ago, so
Oh,
my
yeah.
memory is fading a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, I remember the mention of small classes, even smaller than my high school classes at that time.
Mm.
Um, and that was something that really I liked about it. I remember hearing, well, just the name itself, space engineering. It sounded perfect for me because I've always really been interested in space. And yeah, it was kind of just love at first sight.
Right. And then I think our next question kind of ties into that. So you, like you said, heard
Mhm.
about the program and thought this is an excellent fit. I guess what can you tell or what can you share with students who are still thinking of space engineering, wondering if it might be a good fit for them? How can they maybe get a sense of, is this the right program for me?
Absolutely. I've noticed two types of people who really, really enjoy space engineering. These are the people who really, really enjoy space, like myself. And these are the people who really enjoy more so the systems aspect. So if you want to learn, if you are very multidisciplinary and maybe you can't decide between mechanical, electrical, software, and you want to do a little bit of all of them, space engineering does that. You won't go as in depth into mechanical engineering, you won't go as in depth into electrical engineering or software engineering or any of that, but you will definitely get a lot of experience in a whole lot of different engineering degrees. Um, as long as you can stand the orbital mechanics, then the program is very good for someone who is just interested in a lot of things.
Yeah, I feel like as an engineer, most engineers, need to keep a curious mindset. And I do believe that space engineering kind of nurtures that because, like you said, you do kind of, for lack of better words, become a jack of all trades. You kind of figure you have a little bit of everything, but then for those who really are interested in, like I said, systems, learning more about space missions, all of that, like you get a lot of that
Yeah,
in this program, and a very tight-knit support group along the way.
very. Yep.
Now let's see what other so often we get students asking, what advice do we have for them if they're just entering university or just entering space engineering or thinking about it? Of course, we do have a common first year, so they won't be jumping right into the discipline right away. But a lot of our students are very keen. They want to know how they can set themselves up for success. So, do you have any advice, tips, or if you could go back in time and tell yourself, oh, maybe prepare for this. What would you like to share with those who are anticipating that?
So I'll do a bit of what I actually did first, and then what I wish I did. So in my first year, obviously, it is the base of your degree. You need to know it pretty darn well to actually excel in the later years. So you definitely need to focus on your basic math. So calculus 1 and 2, very important, even if they get very theoretical at some point, and linear algebra. Those three courses are extremely important to your degree. I really wish I had focused a little bit more on calculus. I had to teach it to myself while taking other classes, and it's not that great. On the other hand, something I did do, which was great, was I figured space engineering is a small program. A lot of the courses are not offered during the summer, in especially not in upper years. So to actually get ahead and finish my degree in 4 years, which isn't the most common, most people take 5. I took a whole lot of the general engineering courses in my first year of summer, which was, to be honest, brutal, but extremely valuable in the long term. And I'm really happy I did that. After that, it's really just get involved, make friends, make sure you're taking care of yourself, don't burn yourself out. Um, just that sort of thing.
Two follow-up questions for you. Actually, one is just a follow-up question, the other is a comment. The excellent advice on spreading out course load or at least being strategic in your approach, right? So of course it really depends on every student's learning style, their time management. Like you said, um, the summer term is optional, but it is a great option for students who want to stay on track to complete their degree within a certain time, right? Within a certain time frame. So it's a great opportunity to take those courses that maybe you didn't get a chance to take during fall, winter, or you know they're available during the summer. Like you said, so you're going to do that during the summer and take courses that aren't available in the summer during fall, winter instead. If you need help planning your courses in that way, it's a great idea to speak with academic advising, especially during your new student enrollment appointment. So for all of you who have been admitted and are looking to accept your offer or have already accepted your offer, your first step after that is to book your new student enrollment appointment. You'll get information on how to add courses, which courses are needed, and all of that. And then there's opportunity to connect with an advisor who can give you some suggestions on how to build your schedule, like Ian did. Be a little bit more strategic and see which courses are available when. And another great thing that has come up several times is that at York, your tuition is you pay by course, right? So there's not set tuition that you have to pay, which means if you take, some courses during the summer instead of taking them during the fall or winter term, then you just kind of you spread out your time, but you don't have to pay for all those courses, at once. You pay per course, so it allows you to kind of manage your time wisely there. But my follow question for you was you said it's so important to take care of yourself. So, what were some, I guess, strategies or ways that you found like was really helpful for you in your self-care during your undergrad? What worked well for you?
Um, Taking time off, really. I did my best, especially come um, my later years, so third and fourth year, to just not have work over the weekend.
Fantastic.
I did everything in my power to finish everything I needed to do over the week and just laze around on weekends.
Yeah.
That is one thing that really helped. Obviously, going out with friends, um, just doing anything outside of schoolwork,
Mhm.
because otherwise you can't just do 4 years of nonstop schoolwork. You'll go crazy. Trust me. I
Yeah,
tried.
I can imagine. It's actually so reassuring too, or I hope it's reassuring for some students to hear that, you've successfully gone through the program and you still love your program. I know that. And so you've had such a positive experience, and you were able to get it all done while, trying your best to take time off. So it is possible. Of course, I understand that for a lot of students, they're a little, worried or a little anxious because engineering in general is a rigorous program.
Hmm.
And we're very transparent about that. We know that it's a tough program. We know that our engineering students have very busy schedules, but we hope you feel empowered and also inspired by our current students and our graduating students to know that it is possible to manage it all. And you'll get into the swing of it, like Ian found ways to balance work and life, and you will be able to do that as well. Give yourself some time because, like Ian mentioned, the first few years may be a little tougher, but then once you figure out, your own kind of the strides you need to take, I think you'll manage and find an approach that is suitable for you. So it is possible to still, hang out with friends, see people during the weekend, get enough sleep most of the time, hopefully. Some of the time, hopefully. Um,
Not during midterm season.
Yes, that's fair. Midterms and exams will be fair. We know that it's a challenging time for every student. But also you still have time to work or get involved in extracurriculars. And I think that it's something that is very important for all of our students. I find that even our highest achieving students still find time for their hobbies, for their interests outside of their programs, which is really, really nice to see. All right.
Oh,
So,
just remembered one more tip. Go
yeah,
to your classes.
excellent. Excellent.
Many people find themselves with the freedom to not go to their classes. I highly advise against it. Go to your classes.
Words of wisdom, folks. Especially, I mean, and it like you said, there's so much freedom, especially at the beginning, especially for those who are coming straight out of high school, because all of a sudden your schedule looks so different from when you were in high school. You have these chunks of time in between classes. It feels like nobody is maybe fully holding you accountable for not going classes because there's no like official like roll call or like attendance. So you feel like you can just not go. But you're hearing it from an upper year, a graduating student that it's really, really crucial.
Yeah.
Um, how did you find this is kind of going off script now, but how did you find your relationships with your profs or your TAs? Because that's another common question, right? That sometimes students, again, if they're entering university or coming into a new program. They could even be a transfer student, right? It's tough. You're in a sea of students at the beginning. So they're wondering, how do I get extra support? How do I form these relationships with my teachers, especially if they had really good relationships coming out of, their last studies. So any tips or tricks there?
Absolutely. TAs are very dependent on the person.
Mm,
I wouldn't I wouldn't go too strongly on trying to form strong relationships with, especially the space TAs. A lot of them just do the grading.
mhm,
Um, but I, for example, have pretty good relationships with a lot of the TAs who are actually my friends because, well, I worked in the lab with them.
mhm,
One that is one good way of uh, getting connections with TAs is by maybe doing research if that's of interest to you. Professors, on the other hand, are a lot more manageable, I'll say. Um, you will generally see the same few, especially in space engineering, because there aren't all that many. And you just go and talk to them during office hours, ask them questions, make sure they know your face, especially in your lower years when you're literally just one face out of thousands. Well, maybe not thousands, but hundreds. The best way of getting a relationship with professors is to go and talk with professors
mhm,
after class is over. You can talk to them about their research if you actually know what you're talking about.
mhm,
Or you can just ask them questions about the course during their office hours. Ask for help on, hey, I had a bit of trouble with this assignment. Can you help me work through the problem?
mhm.
It's what they're there for. They're there to help.
Yeah, and similar to our space engineering students, I find our space engineering faculty is also just as passionate about their work and their research. And so, like Ian said, if you do a little bit of research ahead of time and ask them about their work, they're more than happy to share with you. And even if you're not sure, just going with questions shows initiative, right? And I think
Yeah.
this is applicable in any field, any program. If you want to form connections with people, taking that initiative to reach out, especially when they already have set office hours, they're going to be there already and they're anticipating students like you showing up. So it's a really, really good time to get in there and ask those questions, seek that extra support, or just form a good rapport with your professors. And a little can go a long way. Again, these are industry experts. These are subject matter experts. They're people who will be teaching you. So it's a good strategy to kind of form that relationship early on. Great.
And many of them are more than happy to put in a good word at a job they have contacts in.
Yes, especially like you said, they all have experience in the industry, they know people, and it is a form of networking. And that's something we highly, highly value within the sign community as well, is networking within the community and using your resources within the community to network outside of it, right? So that's why, again, really, really smart way, I think, to cast that larger web and see that larger net and see what comes from it. Now, I do see already there are a few questions in the chat. If yours isn't there already, I encourage you to drop it in there. We'll make sure we get into it. Um, so some more general questions are about kind of key topics, courses that you can take in space engineering. So one student is wondering, what else can you learn in space engineering other than space related engineering? And what other courses can you choose in your space engineering degree, like science or art courses?
That's a great question. I'll go with the second one first. The other courses, you get to choose four, yes, four complementary studies, which can be anything other than science-related courses, uh, with some restrictions, but you'll find out more about those. I personally took um, a few English courses, like English literature courses, an acting course, and a few others that weren't all that interesting, personally. Um, I have friends who've taken language courses for all four, and I have friends who came in with 4 transfer credits and didn't have to do any.
Hmm.
So those are the possibilities with other courses which aren't related to your engineering. And then you'll get two, yes, two of, or at least it's two for me. I might change in the next little bit. I'm not sure. But you'll get two courses which you get to choose out of a list basically for specialization. For that, I took a course on planetary formation. Thank you, Anna, for sending the program checklist. That is probably very helpful. I took a course on planetary exoplanets, planetary formation, and all that stuff. We used the telescope at York to track a well, what are they called? Planetary transfer, where the planet goes in front of the star, and we actually saw that in the from the telescope at York. And the second one I took is called Remote Sensing of the Earth's Surface. Basically, how do we look down from space to Earth? Now, what else can you learn in space engineering other than space-related engineering? This part here is where all that multidisciplinary stuff I was talking about earlier comes in. So you'll learn about mechanical design. In your second year, you'll take a computer-aided design course. There's a course called Mechanisms and Mechanical Systems. You take 2 or 3 electronics courses on how to build circuits. You take, in this case, specific for space engineering, but software courses about how to program in Python, how to program in Arduino, which this course really didn't have much to do with space, but it was for space engineering students. Um, you really learn a whole lot of everything, and your space engineering specific classes just put that in context of space. If you want to, you can always just uh, apply it to something else.
Mhm. Excellent. Let's see. Take a look at the next question here. So I have a question about, geomatics engineering. So this student has a little background in geomatics engineering. They're
Mhm.
wondering how would that complement, a space engineering degree? Like
So,
how are the two related, maybe?
geomatics engineering, to my knowledge,
Mhm.
is generally using space applications to look down at the Earth. So that remote sensing class,
Mhm.
uh, that is something that a geomatics engineer could take. I don't really know too much about geomatics engineering. I'm sure that if you have a geomatics engineering degree, it'll be very helpful to someone in a space engineering degree. I also don't know if it's worth it to pursue a second undergraduate degree, personally. I would just go on to do a master's.
Yeah, especially in engineering. I don't know how,
Mm-hmm.
also I will say I'll step in at least on the admissions front. Of course, it depends on the student's background and how far they had gone in their geomatics engineering degree, like if it was completed or if maybe they had taken some courses, they have some background in it. Depending on how similar your past degree was, you may also not be admissible for a second engineering degree. If there's too much overlap, this is why students can't, have uh, they finish a computer science degree and then they'll start maybe a computer security degree. Well, the two programs are too closely related. And so it wouldn't be possible to kind of be admissible and be completing two very, very similar degrees. Now, this is a very general um, response to that question. I would say, of course, having some background engineering or understanding of engineering might help you pursue your engineering degree. But if you are looking to complete, like Ian said, a second undergraduate degree in engineering, typically we don't recommend it. But if you're really not sure and your case is very specific, we're going to share our contacts at the end of this session. So feel free to reach out individually and we can chat and talk more about that. Um, let's see. What did you do for your final space mission design?
Is that my capstone project or my space mission design project?
Space,
Because
let's say both. Let's learn a little
both.
bit about both. Yeah.
Sure. So my space mission design project, we basically proposed a mission which was a constellation of satellites to track space debris. Um, it was an entirely design-based project, so we only thought about it. Um, we didn't make anything.
Mm.
The more interesting one, I think, is my capstone project, where we basically built, well, we grabbed two cameras, put 180-degree lenses on them, and designed a platform for them to go on and put them on a stratospheric balloon that will be launching in August. This has the main purpose of looking into space debris, looking at space. We put some really cool images into a VR headset. I don't remember, Anna, if you saw them or not.
I didn't get
Uh,
a chance to. I wanted to. I didn't get a chance to.
but they're very pretty images that we got into a VR headset. I can possibly send the link to one of those videos at the end of this meeting.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll even backtrack a bit and just say, in any of our engineering programs, of course, we're biased and we'd hope you choose space. But you can be involved in, like Ian said, a capstone project near the end of your degree. And so essentially what that means is you're involved in a project, a hands-on project from design to execution, with other um, engineering students at Lassonde. So even those outside of your discipline, right? So I know, Ian, you had a number of different engineers on your project, electrical. Was it also, did you have some
Mechanical.
mechanical? Exactly. Yeah. So you're working it. I like to think, I mean, again, you're the one who did it, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it's similar to kind of, in the workplace when you're working with a number of different engineers, number of different people to get something done, right? To complete a project. So it gives you that kind of real world experience, the problem solving, the planning, execution, all of that. And you're also the mentor under the guidance of a professor, right? So you have someone who also is supervising and, checking in, and someone that you can go to for help and support. So really, really fun opportunity and valuable opportunity available to you as well if you were to choose engineering at Lassonde. And it is something that not every engineering program offers, so it is quite unique as well to be involved in Capstone at Lassonde. So yeah, I wanted to see your project. There are a number of really cool projects on display that day, so it's always fun to see.
Mhm.
Um, this is a really good question, a general question. How do you manage co-op and or an outside job with your course load? So I know you mentioned that you hadn't done co-op yourself, but you've done research, you've done extracurriculars, you still want to have a personal life. So how do you manage all of that with such a rigorous course load?
Through great difficulty. Um, but for real, I was doing research, um, this job, and courses at the exact same time. And the way to manage that I found is just setting aside time for each thing. So obviously, class time is class time. Um, space engineering ambassador time is space engineering ambassador time, and research time is research time, and personal time is personal time. And just by setting up all of that properly, and a bit of multitasking here and there, I find that it becomes manageable once you figure out how to make it manageable. And it depends on really each person how you manage your time. And really, it just comes up to time management. And when it comes to co-op, you're not taking courses while doing a co-op, or well, you're not taking many courses while doing a co-op. You can do, I think, up to one during your term. So you're not taking many courses, so you're doing a 9 to 5 job usually, 40 hours a week. You might have one course that's after 5 p.m. or online. Uh, Honestly, I find that people tend to manage that a lot better than schoolwork because of the structure there.
So another, I guess it kind of ties into it. Speaking of schedule and time management, how did you find your schedule, at least for courses, to look? Like, did it change a lot every year? Was it always really full? Did you have a lot of time in between your classes? Did you have a lot of night classes? I guess anything to paint a general picture for students going in and not knowing what to expect.
I'm going to be honest, I don't remember my schedules. Um, in first year, I remember the schedule was quite brutal. Especially in the winter semester, you're taking a lot of courses. The courses are actually starting to get hard.
Mm,
So first year is difficult.
mhm.
Once you get through that, I find that a lot of people have learned a lot more time management by second year, and courses become generally more structured time-wise, at least. So you'll be figuring out what time your classes are, and you still have a lot of freedom in moving them around. Especially in second year, very few classes are offered only once. So you can pick section A, which starts 9 to 5, which starts at 9 a.m., or you can pick section B, which starts at noon, for example. And if you know how you learn, I prefer noon classes, to be honest. Um, Yeah, it you have a lot of flexibility, especially in first and second year, in choosing your courses, but there's a lot of them. Come third and fourth year, I find that courses tend to start a little bit later. Professors also don't want to be up for 8:30 a.m. classes.
Very fair.
Um, so a lot of times I remember having classes starting at 10 a.m. and ending at like 4 or 5,
Mhm,
which is not bad in my opinion.
mhm.
Um, and I found ways of having, days off bi-weekly sometimes,
Yeah.
which is very nice.
Mhm. When you eventually get to the enrollment process, again, you're going to receive that enrollment package from academic advising, not only with instructions on how to add courses, but it'll also include this checklist that I'm sharing with you in the chat right now. So you'll be able to see the courses that you should or typically need to complete in your first year in order to then have the prerequisites for second year. Now of course, like Ian mentioned, summer term is an optional term, but it is an option, right? So that would be a good time to speak with academic advising about that. But when you get into the system, you're actually able to add courses. There is something called the visual schedule builder. So like Ian mentioned, you'll have a class that you'll need to take this, but it's offered it's offered at different times, like different sections. Section A is offered at this time, section B is offered at that time, etc. So you can kind of drag and drop and build your schedule to see what it might look like. So it's a little different from high school, or depending on what, if you've maybe taken a break from school, maybe it's something that you haven't done in a while. But there is a process that will help you um, get used to that and inform you how to do all of that. So right now it's difficult for us to say because also there is no set, sometimes it varies every year, right? Class times change, sections change. So it's difficult for us to say this is for sure what your first year will look like. This is for sure what your fourth year will look like. But just know that there is some flexibility, um, perhaps in some years more than others, like Ian mentioned, there tends to be more options for first year courses since there's so many more students. We need to have multiple sections to accommodate for that. Once you get into upper year, you might have less options to build your schedule, but your classes are much smaller because you'll really only be with most of the time students in your own program specializing in that discipline, right? So it varies, but hopefully this gives you at least a little bit of a big picture. Speaking of big picture, I don't know how much, Ian, you can answer this, but what have you heard or what do you know about the job market for engineering in general or space engineering? Mhm.
So for space engineering, I don't know much about the engineering in general because I don't keep up. Um, I find that space engineering is very in demand, especially in space field.
Mhm.
For example, one of the companies I mentioned earlier, MDA Space, they are hiring something like, I think it was 100 students, 100 recent grads a year.
Mhm.
We do not graduate 100 graduates a year.
Mhm.
So, if you want a job with MDA and you go through a space engineering degree, I won't say you're guaranteed the job, but
Likelihood.
you are extremely well qualified for the job, and they are hiring a lot.
Mhm.
Uh, Other companies are also hiring a lot. There's Space is very closely related with defense sometimes. So you can find your jobs there as well.
And I think that's an excellent point that you mentioned that sometimes, especially in very specialized fields, like I consider, like you said, even though space engineering, yes, you learn a little bit of everything. At the end of the day, not every school offers space engineering, right? We are, in fact, the only program within Canada, right? And so the fact that you are specialized in this field, that means that those who are looking for space engineering and engineers are looking for you. So because you're in a smaller program, even though you might think, oh, there are different ways to look at it. Some students think that they need to go into a more popular engineering program because there are more jobs available. But if you take into comparison that there are also more students graduating from that program, the field of, I guess, students that you're competing against, or engineers you're competing against, is the ratio is slightly higher versus if you are more specialized, and then those who are looking for a more specialized individual, well, you might be a better fit for the job, right? So there are different perspectives here. And I will say, I will always at least say this generally, engineers will almost always be in demand because even with the evolution of technology, of AI, all of that, you need engineers on the back end of that. And so I do think that it continues to be a very promising field. And even on the admissions front, I can tell you it continues to be a growing program. Year over year, at least in the past several years, we see every year uptake for engineering gets higher and higher. So also, guess a sign that more students are looking, or I guess more people are interested because they know that this is a field that continues to be growing. So we are reaching the 5:55, 6 o'clock mark. If you have any other questions that we haven't had a chance to take a look at yet, feel free to leave them in the chat Q&A, chat or Q&A, and I will try my best to get to them. But otherwise, I do want to just quickly get to the conclusion, just wrap up our session today and share with you all the various opportunities here with us at Lassonde. So if I miss anything, Ian, feel free to chime in. But if you're interested in coming to visit us, or if you want to learn more about other programs offered at Lassonde, or hear from a panel of students that have um, had experience in our programs, feel free to scan the QR code in the top right hand corner of your screen. It'll bring you to our Discovery Days website. You can book yourself a tour to meet me and other current students, or you can join another session that we have available for you this week. If you have any other questions, even after today's session, especially after reflecting on this session, feel free to join the Lassonde community on Discord. So that's where we tell students to ask most of their questions, also to connect with each other. It's a place where you can meet current students and students in your cohort who are also, just looking to join Lassonde. So if you want to start building that community right now, or start staying connected with our community, that's a really great spot to get started. And then last but not least, I just want to thank everyone again for taking the time out of your day to join us. I know that choosing which university to go to, or choosing which program to start, is a challenging and sometimes overwhelming task. So I want you to know that you're in good hands. We're here to support you every step of the way. And if you have any other questions for us, besides joining Discord, you can also send us an email, ask@lassondeschool.com. That email will go directly to me and my team, and we can help answer any questions that you have. Okay. I'll also put that email address in the chat for you. But other than that, thank you again for joining us today, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.